next big disruption. I've been tackling this, I've been thinking about this, and do I think robotics in the main place and mainstream? Yes, we're starting to see it. I think it is going to have an interesting space here. Whole transportation systems are changing. That being, these are all things that are kind of happening. I think in the health tech space, I'm really excited about some of the things that are happening there. So I think from a revolution perspective, or that we're going to start seeing, so there we're starting to see people invest heavily in the diagnostic tech that goes to a primary caregiver and then finally to a doctor. I think that's going to have a massive change in the way that we work, because we don't have enough healthcare providers or healthcare professionals to solve our problems in that space. And that's once there's a few regulatory issues around that, but the devices that I'm seeing, and I've been on some forums, and I'm getting so excited about the sort of things that are happening in the health tech space. I get really excited about. I don't think there's a massive revolution around the fintech space. I think it's overhyped, and I've used the bot for trading, and there's lots of stuff happening in that space, but I think it's completely overhyped. There's some interesting things happening in South Africa where you can buy part of a cow and invest, and so that's in the protein market. And there's some interesting things happening in the investment market there. And I think if anything's going to happen, we might get a little bit more control back to the consumer in the fintech space than we've had in the past. But most people don't have a good understanding of where they should be putting their funds, what they should be doing, and that's a very challenging environment. So I think more in the health tech than in the fintech and other spaces. And then I think some of the revolutions have already happened. They're just not mainstream. So cloud's already happened. Customers are moving stuff. People aren't buying on-premise servers anymore. Those sort of things are already happening. So those major revolutions are already happening. They're just subtle. And people are starting to consume cognitive services and facial recognition and those sort of services. So that's probably going to have a massive impact. What it does do is it will provide interesting interventions in the safety and security space. So if you have a look at the big fears that we have, is will we have enough to eat? Will we be safe? And will we be healthy? And those are interesting places where I think there's going to be a lot more interesting tech coming out. So if you look at some of the major cities that are investing in, yes, so when I say, do we have water and sustainability on water, and is the climate, are we going to be able to survive the extinction revolution that's happening? So there is going to be massive investments there, and I get excited about those things. And I think that's where we're starting to see people are really leaning into their investments in that space. And I know our social and corporate investments from our own businesses, we're getting excited about those things. We're working with some people in the health tech space. I can see that our people are attached to it. We're working with people in environmental management, water leakage detection, and some cool stuff there that I think is really cool. We've been looking at some of the food security stuff, and I think that's really cool. And the next thing I would really like our business to be doing is looking at the security side of it and improving security and finding it easier for people to live in any environment in a safe way. And could we be doing things in that space? So I think those revolutions are already happening. They're just subtle and not maybe in the forefront of people's awareness yet, and quite exciting. Yeah.